Hi, everyone. Welcome to the TimingResearch.com crowd forecast news for November 4th, 2024. We are recording this at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and this is episode number 454. So my name is David Cosman. I'm the creator of TimingResearch.com, and you should be seeing my screen right now. And today I have arranged for Sunny Harris and Michael Filighera to join us again, as well as the option professor. And so I'm going to who's here to moderate. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
Okay, thanks, David, and thanks everybody for being here. We're going to have a big week here because last week we had a big week. We had 5 of the top companies announce their earnings, over $12 trillion of market cap, and over 25% of the indexes. So that was a pretty big week. And then this week we have 20% of the S&P announcing. So that'll be 100 companies right there. So it's going to be, and of course we got the election, we've got a Fed meeting, and we got China meeting to figure out how much they're going to spend and where they're going to spend it. So there's a lot hitting the fan here this week. I'm sure it'll be quite a bit of activity. All right, well, let's get started here. We got the S&P chart up there, I guess. And let's start out with Sunny. And Sunny, why don't you give us a little idea of what you're thinking as far as the S&P here? Last week's lows, I think they got penetrated this morning by just a couple of ticks, and now it's bounced back up. But what are you thinking about where we are right now and where we might be going?
I think we have, according to my Sundance, just a little bit lower to go, and then we'll bounce back up. I don't think this is the crash.
No. So you think it's pretty much somewhere around that blue line that's up there, you know, like they did last time, peek through it a little bit maybe, and then take off again?
I think it's going to go down a little lower first.
Yeah. Well, like I say, it did that in September. Yeah, like I said, it did that in September where it peeked through a little bit on the blue line, and then once it got back above it, it was off to the races again.
Yeah.
You don't think it's going down to yellow, though?
No, I don't.
That'd be a pretty big sell-off.
That'd be exciting, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, you know, you never know in this world because obviously things can change dramatically. Michael, what's your take on this current situation on the S&P?
I actually am pretty much in agreement with what Sunny is saying. I actually also have a level. Let me just grab it real quick on where I think we can come down to. In the SPX, I think that, well, we broke an important by punching through 5,700 this morning, not by much, but the action in and of itself crossed a line that could, if they do it again, produce some pretty strong selling. And so I've been looking for that, and I'd like to see them get down to around 56.75 to 56.70. That's where I have my a little bit lower. And then I agree with Sunny that puts in, should put in a fairly strong low, and then we rally back above 5,900, actually.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I've got a very, very important double low down here as far as the RSI divergence. So could we put a monthly graph up and see if you guys will see the same thing? Because my last week when we came down here, my RSI hit 23 and change. Right now, we just came down here and the RSI is 38. That tells me right off the bat, this market is running out of sellers. And it also have a 250 SMA that came in at 57.02. And the low is 56.96. So they just a little penetration right back above it. So is that the monthly? No, I meant 1 month. I didn't mean monthly. I guess I meant monthly, but I meant 1 month. Yeah. There you go. Okay, so you can see the difference. Yeah, you can see the difference in the RSI there. That screams to me that this is potentially a double low. That means that this selling has dried up. And like I say, the fact that it just went a teeny bit lower and then it's back above it. I would think that today's lows, you could defend that like the Great Wall of China, because if it starts closing underneath that 5,700, I would think that that would not be a good sign.
No, I agree. If it closes below, I mean, if we finish the day below, then I agree that we're heading into negative territory.
Yeah.
But
otherwise,
I agree with you.
It could be a great buy zone right now. Could be a great buy zone.
Well, actually, yes. And anytime it comes back close to it, as long as it doesn't break it, I agree with you on that. I would be looking to scoop something.
And
to
the
pick
fact
up.
that it is kind of scooted away from the low so fast is also evidence to me that divergence we're looking at, and that's a significant divergence. Come on, that is whatever RSI that is. That is much lower last week than it was there during this last drop.
Right. Right.
So, that is definitely a huge. Now, again, getting it back above 50 on the RSI, that would probably be above 57.60.
Yes.
My big thing was 58.09 and then 58.40. I think if we get up to 58.09 and 58.40, first of all, getting up into that gap would be good, but beyond the gap, I think that would really tell you that maybe new highs are going to happen, right? Sonny,
the lower Sunny band's at 56.70, and I think that's where we're going.
Wow, bingo. We're at the same level. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jim, I think above
56.70. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of ultimate, because I'm looking at the chart being shown by David, and today they did put in a new low for the sequence, and that could have completed the sequence. But you see, they're just they come back and hitting it. So what we're seeing right now is just a lot of rotation, a lot of preparation for what the larger traders want, what they don't want, what are they going to hold on to, how they're going to position themselves in advance of tomorrow, and then they'll probably do it all over again, on Wednesday, because then we head into the Fed, like you mentioned, and there's just a lot of other things on the table.
And that's another reason for it to drop to 56.70. Those things could do that to it.
I'm just not seeing anything
on any of my
today.
Stuff. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Like I said, where are you guys getting 56.70? I don't
have for me, it's a fib support.
Oh, okay. I got you.
I don't know. Sonny, I'm sorry, I talked over you.
Oh, it's okay. On mine, it's the lower outer Sunny band is right at 56.70, and I think we're going to test that level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't see any of my stuff having that. I have a lot of stuff right around this 5,700. Yeah, but I don't have too much of 56. Actually, if it gets under here, I got a kind of a vacuum down towards 5,600 pretty fast.
Yeah, for me, 5,700 remains what they consider a put wall.
Yeah.
And so they went down and they broke it, but it did not get that follow through that you're going to look for. So that's what I'm saying. I think if they break it again, we're going to get a lot more selling.
Yeah, you probably have no trouble going to your 56.70 if they
exactly. So that's why I think both of us are keeping it there. It's like, well, that's kind of my bottom line. Now, if they break through that with any force, get out of the pool.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, let's put up QQQ, because I've been talking to people about, hey, listen, the fact that QQQ can't take out the July highs and the SMH can't take out the July highs, and Apple and Microsoft and
seem to
Google cannot take out the July highs. I mean, what are you reading into that, Michael? I think that's extremely bearish.
On the Qs, it's like two different worlds, but I agree. And so what I'm finding in the Qs and the spiders is the lineup of where they're putting volatility triggers, put walls, and call walls. And the past week, we saw them get really concentrated in a short and tight area. And when we break that level, it forces that adjusting, it forces that additional selling. And then when they retake it, it forces the reverse. Now, but I think the Qs, let me just go and take a quick peek to where it's sitting right now. The major for the Qs for me is if it comes, well, it'd have to fall pretty far, but we had 485 was one level, and they came down and they whacked out of that one early. So that forced a little bit of additional selling, but the next level that would have pushed it even further was 480, and it didn't get there. So again, if it becomes productive where they start pushing, and here's the other thing, because of Friday's expiration, it moved the put wall. So the put wall's back at 465 right now. And the put wall, folks, that's where the market will find support, because there's a bunch of short puts sitting there. And so if they break that and they go through it with any force, What it forces those position holders to do is if they allow it to continue to drop, they're not getting shorter, they're getting longer. And so they're forced to sell into weakness. And that, of course, just aggravates the whole situation. But I saw them move that. Now, on the way back up in the Qs, the volatility, the trigger is 490. Now, Jim, if they go back above that, then what does that signal? It signals risk on.
Yeah, no, I got that. I'll tell you right now, the other thing I got is a double low with a much higher RSI when we came down. So again, similar to the S&P, I think you can use 5,700 neighborhood and this
Yeah.
483 neighborhood
Yeah.
as lines in the sand, and you could defend it. And this would be the time to, if you wanted to get more aggressive, because the line in the sand is so close. That it would be easier to get more aggressive because your exit is not very far from where the highway is. You know what I mean?
I low
Correct.
72.60 on the Qs.
72.50. Okay.
72.
Well, like I say, if it takes out to 483, I don't know where it would stop. You're saying 472, just like if it takes out 5,700.
I think it might be her lower band.
Now the caveat in the sunny bands is that the DMA dynamic moving average is flat.
Yeah.
You can expect a lot of volatility when it's flat, and the gold line is on top, which is bullish.
Yeah. And the RSI divergence on the monthly, on the 1 month chart today is bullish. So again, the lows we saw last week, the lows that we tested, I'm not going to call 3 S&P points a break of it. I call that I call that stealing stops by some guy on the market making side. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I would say, like I say, but Tuesday's a turnaround Tuesday.
Right.
So
look what they just did. Case in point, if you just follow, I mean, you can't see too much on that chart, but on the very small time frame charts, somebody came in, sold it real hard, and then somebody's coming back in and they're buying the crap out of it. And I think it just is a matter of hedging, right? Because dealers got to hedge every time they do a trade, they got to hedge. And I actually am seeing, I don't have confirmation of it, but when I see them selling the VIX, while the Dow is down.
I'm going to go over there because I've been very big on that. The VIX above 20 puts you at risk of a spike up at all times.
But see, they're selling it, which tells me they're all doing risk on.
Yeah. Well, they should, because of the divergence is telling you that the drying up of the selling is right there.
But so what happens after that? Does their algorithm kick in tomorrow or at some point, maybe even on Wednesday? Where we know the result.
I got the VIX at 22, so that's not a good thing.
Okay.
But if the VIX started closing under 2150 and then 2100, then there's a gap underneath there at 2050, I would say that, and of course, you're at a big juncture right here at this 22 number, because I got 2 moving averages on my 1 month that are meeting each other. When 2 moving averages meet each other, it generally does something large. Well,
True, but we have the VIX cash at 22. We have the VIX future at 1975.
Yeah, well, like I say, I always use the cash because
I do too.
Lord knows what they do.
But what they'll sell is that futures market and use that cash to go ahead and turn and go do something else.
Yeah. But right now, like I say, anytime you've got a plus 20 number, you're at risk of a spike up. And if this thing were to spike up to 25 or 30, the stock market's going to break those levels we're talking about and go down.
And we could do that tomorrow.
But if we start,
once we get results, let's say.
Yeah.
Not necessarily tomorrow. Tomorrow we all be asleep, but they still could do it.
Yeah, my 1 year graph really has the VIX, on an island up there.
Wow.
Where it could either go to like 25 and start soaring, or this could be an island that they leave alone if it gets back under 20. So I think it's going to be very, very much VIX oriented. If you start seeing 25 or higher, this thing is probably going to be going down sharply. And if you ever see it go underneath, like if say they gap down and the VIX, say the market gapped up tomorrow and the VIX gapped down to under 20, you'd have like an island up there that's going to possibly be left for a long time.
Right. No, that's true. But I don't know if they'll actually. Right. I don't think that they're going to really mess with volatility until after the election is over, because the reason they're holding it up is because of the election, because of this uncertainty. Now, we have plenty of other uncertainty in the world to deal with, but right now, focus is the election.
Yeah.
So,
And the OPEC announced that they're not going to put any more supply on the market right away. And Iran is talking about a very serious response to Israel. And then, of course, Ukraine is attacking the Korean troops. They got Korean troops over there now. Yeah, there's no rest for the wicked out there. There's no doubt about that.
no, but our focus in this country.
Let's just talk a little bit about the election, just an opinion, because obviously nobody knows anything about what's going to happen. It seems to me that, you got Harris and you got Trump, and one person is kind of like talking about, keeping what we're doing, but, modifying our challenges or whatever. And the other person is definitely talking about things are terrible and they need to change, and I'm going to come in and change it and fix it. Well, which one would be more disruptive for the market?
You really want my opinion on that?
Well, I'm just saying, it seems to me a person who says that everything is broke, we're going to be Venezuela, and I'm going to come in and fix it, would be more disruptive to a 6,000, 5,900 S&P, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Sonny, you said?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're all in agreement on that one, Jim.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on out there because, they have that chant, are you worse off than you were 4 years ago? And everyone's yelling out, yes, yes, yes.
But I think it's like,
the problem is if you look at the statistics for that and the actual facts, we are not worse off than we were 4 years ago.
Well, I mean, I think, you got an all-time high on stocks. You got 4% unemployment. You got the real estate prices holding their highs. And you've got the inflation rate back down at 2%. So I don't know. I mean, but there seems to be chance that everyone is worse off.
That's what's playing politics.
Yeah.
Reality and politics seem to be not touching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see what's going on. But
and because of that statement, we don't know what the outcome's going to be tomorrow.
No, we do not. You're right.
And, one of the reasons we really don't, and this is my view, is that the people that are going we got to fix everything because the border's broken, everything. They're very loud and very shall we say agitated, and the ones that would vote the other way, they seem to just be quiet and just kind of like not saying much. So I'll be very interested to see if like the ones that have been so much at the rallies and go or whatever about change is actually the majority of the people, or is the majority of the people the ones that haven't been talking so much
but still voting? Yeah,
and still voting.
Yeah.
I think the ones that are going to the rallies and shouting and going, yes, I think that's the minority. Myself,
because they make a big deal. They made a big deal about the Madison Square Garden thing and then the Fifth Avenue. But there's 5 million people in the New York area, and to get 100,000 or 20,000 of them to show up for something is not extraordinary. I mean,
we have to remember the numbers that they said are 10 times the amount that Madison Square Garden actually holds.
Yeah. We'll have to see what happens. And Bado, whatever happens, obviously you have to accept it, and then you have to just move on. But it'll be very interesting. This election is, the last one was pretty wild too. It was obviously.
You need to tell both sides they need to accept it and move on.
Yeah. It's hard. Isn't it hard?
I'm not going to accept it at all.
Do you find it hard to believe, but we shouldn't, because it happened with Gore and Bush, how you can have like 400 million people in the States, and then it could come down to like 5,000 or 10,000 votes. I mean, can we be that much 50-50? I don't think you could get that in a room of 100 people.
It's incredible.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So that's shocking to me.
If the Trump side wins, we're in for a hell of a 4 years.
Well, we're very much an unknown.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because again, I do also think that, some of the rhetoric will never make the light of day.
Well, we'll see if he tries to appoint himself dictator. That'll be interesting.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Volatility should be all around us.
Yes, volatility should be all around us and not go anywhere. Yes.
And that oil market is, it's hanging on for dear life with that 60 number. And if it were to break under 60, and then he could create some kind of a fracking and really open up all these floodgates of energy. Who knows? Maybe
See, the
it
thing
could
is,
go
it's like
back to $26 a barrel for all you know.
unless he really is supreme ruler, there's no way he's going to get anything.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be wild because we also have to figure out how the House is going to go. So
No,
Exactly.
he also wants to dig for oil in Yellowstone Park.
Well,
That's like sacrilegious.
I was this is funny. I was watching a Law and Order episode from 94, 96, a rerun, and they were making a joke that about Central Park, that Trump wanted to monetize Central Park by charging annual memberships and daily passes.
Oh my
And so he was a creative mind all the way back then. He's a creative kind of guy. All right, let's turn to the market. Let's go over like the gold market. Let's put up the semiconductors, because we've already established that the SMH. We've already established the QQQs are having a hard time getting through their highs, and I would say this one is also having some difficulty as well.
yes, it is.
And
Well, interesting.
and these indexes are.
In my work, it's got farther down to go because it's below the DMA, and it's tried to test it twice and didn't make it. So it could go down to 234 something. 234, it looks like.
And not be unhealthy if it did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tell you that the SMH, a lot of it has to do with
NVIDIA.
Taiwan Semi, NVIDIA, and Broadcom. Now, Taiwan Semi, if you put that up, had great earnings. TSM, great earnings, spiked up to 212, and it hasn't seen 212 since.
Right. Went outside the.
Can you see that?
Came right back.
Great earnings, 212, and it hadn't seen 212 since. So I don't know what that means. I know it means that
from what my take on that is, from that high at 212, it looks like if it comes down and puts a new low in below what it did, I don't know the time frame on this chart, but the current low out of this sequence, if it breaks that, it's 5 down. Then it's get out of the water.
Yeah. My reading of it is that it's bounced 3 times now on my DMA. I think it's going back up.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, that's the way you should be playing it, as long as it stays above that 188, 186 number, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, it's nice to have the the exit so close to the entry. You know what I mean?
That's true. So it's a good trade. Yeah. In that respect, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, and then like I say, the other two haven't announced earnings. One is on December 5th, that's Broadcom, and the other one is going to be November 20th on NVIDIA. Now, the way these guys are announcing, the end user, the Microsoft, Amazon, Google, etc., Meta, they still seem like they're spending tons of money. And so basically, that should be very good for NVIDIA. Yeah. And so I would imagine NVIDIA could have a very much of a blowout deal. Let's put up NVIDIA and see if it's going to go to 160.
160. All things are possible.
Because, if it blows out the highs there and the earnings were unbelievable, the RSI is coming off of a fairly low level. You could go up 150, 160 off of earnings and surprise people, huh?
I think it's going up there. I think it's going even higher than that.
Yeah, I'm just saying reasonably for the short run, that would be a 20% move would be a pretty good size move. So
yeah,
I guess the CEO really does want to outdo Musk and be the richest man in the world.
I don't know about that. I know that it seems to be a lot more rational than Musk.
He's definitely more rational, but maybe he's going for a title, and that could be the title.
Well, one thing he's also doing is he's striking while the iron's hot. Michael and Sonny, you've been around for decades. I think we all know that the chip industry is a commodity, and when the
Yeah,
commodity's in high demand and low supply, like silver or any other
it
commodity,
goes up.
it can
Yeah.
go a lot higher than you ever thought. And then
Right.
all of a sudden things change, meaning competition comes in, new chips come in, people are saturated, and the next thing you know, these companies that are valued at more than Apple, that are a commodity, you could see it unravel very dramatically, maybe by the second half of next year or something like that.
I think the price right now is stumbling kind of along sideways because everybody's anticipating that Blackwell chip.
Yeah.
So as soon as they announce that they can start, it's in manufacturing right now. As soon as they announce that they can start delivering, it'll hit 160 easily.
Yeah, no, and again, that's going to be also if these end users continue their spend, because the end users are starting to look at return on investment, and
Right.
it's not exactly knocking them off their chair. So
Right.
it could get to a point. Another risk for NVIDIA is that the AI spend backs off,
Yes.
and maybe they also look for chips that are less expensive. Maybe they're not as good as the Blackwell, but if they're half price and they still get the job done, there could be a little bit of a gravitation to a better value chip, which
I
is
think
which is a risk for NVIDIA
I
too.
I
also
also think it's like where they're going to start implementing AI and where it's going to be more beneficial and be able to be monetized. I think right now when we're putting it into chat and have all that, we can go plug in and it'll write a term paper, whatever the deal is. I think that part's like, no, show me the money. Show me where you're going to monetize this deal. And then we'll back you on it. But I think where that's going to come in, believe it or not, is biotech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you need to take a look at XBI, Jim.
XB
Yeah.
or P?
XBI, yeah.
IBB or XBI, either one.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
one that I've been writing here is some of the yeah.
But see, but
Yeah, the
that's real.
IBB.
Those are companies like there's one Viking Therapeutics
Yeah, that's
that
having a hard day today. That's having a hard day today, though. It's
oh,
down
they're having a really
$5.
hard day after
Yeah.
they came out and they said that their weight loss drug is getting approval and great results and blah blah blah. Next thing you know, it's VKTX, yeah, that one. Next thing you know, they run it up,
Yeah.
in Globex and then sink it.
Yeah.
I mean, not just sink it, but they sink it. And what happens on the way back down again? I'm going to go to the options. They went through the triggers and the put walls,
Yeah.
and it's like bang. Now there's still some guy, and he's actually very very good. He's out of the UK, and he thinks his stock is going to go to 200 and be taken over. It'll be
Well, it's not going to do it the way it's acting today. That's for sure.
I would agree with you, but I still think that if they get that product to market, just considering what's happened with Ozempic and Wegovy, why wouldn't this one do it just as well? If it passes all the tests, all of the trials that the FDA and everybody else is, or CDC, everybody's looking for before they're going to put their stamp of approval on it. But I think it's one to watch. And then I also think that there are others out there that are dealing with not just, overweight, but they're dealing with, there's one that's doing some really good work with retinal disease. And there's others that are doing, cancer and other types of things. And with AI, what I'm realizing, AI and biotechnology, they're able to really get in, and the AI breaks down the virus to find the weakness to get something in there to stop it.
Yeah.
It's amazing what they're coming up with. But I think that would be the sector. When we're talking about AI and they're coming out with these new chips,
Yeah.
that's just going to me, these labs and all of these companies that are building on this, I think, yeah, they'll probably spend the money because it will get monetized.
Yeah.
I will. I use Chat GPT almost every day for something. I even have it do my easy language code now.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's quite the advancement, my friend.
Mhm. Mhm.
because you did that all by yourself for years and years and years.
Oh, I still do it all by myself because Chat GPT doesn't put out exactly correct code, so you have to debug it.
Oh, okay.
So you have to know what you're doing to use it, or you'd have an invalid.
Computer that was spinning around on itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So,
that's cool.
and
You
I
know
use
that.
it for writing articles, and I use it a lot for research. I mean,
Yeah.
it gives you better answers than Google.
Well,
You know,
yeah. I mean, I
we
like Google's AI product.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
And yes, I also have used it, but I'm not quite doing it in the same fashion that you are, but I am using it. And you know, I'm doing a lot of work outside of what I do here. So
Mhm.
I've been writing sponsorship things that, you know, because we have a group that we're looking for sponsorship,
Mhm.
and you can put a whole letter together and just details the whole thing. One is for some films. So,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know, my background growing up in Hollywood, got to stick with the films.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, there are a lot of uses for it. So, Jim, I do think NVIDIA, if it gets it together, and we're seeing, I think investors will be more than happy to put their money into it.
Yeah.
But they are asking a very legitimate question, and you brought that up, Jim. It's like, where is it going to start to become, um, monetized?
Yeah. Well, there's some pretty smart guys think 3 to 6 months they've got a green light. I'll tell you though, the two things that look like they could very much be quiet before the storm is the SMH and the
Hmm.
QQQ. Because like I say,
Okay, yeah.
if they start going, there's a lot of real estate to go. So I'd be watching those guys very closely because I think there's huge potential on the upside if they can get it going.
Well, I'll show you in the queues. The call wall right now is at 510. 510. And they moved it down to 500 and it got tagged. And so they thought, okay, we're not ready. And they moved it up to 510. Now they could continue to move it, but that would be your first green light.
Yeah, yeah, and like I say, yeah, I can just see a lot of stuff is coming together. A lot of averages are coming together. When that occurs, it's generally going to go way away from the averages. So SMH going up to 280 or down to 220, or
Yeah.
the QQQ going up to 510 or down to 460. Very, very possible between now and the end of the month.
And great that you mentioned that because the put wall's at 465.
There you go. Now, here's two more sectors that I think are going to get very wild in the next 6 weeks. And one is the metals. So put up Freeport McMoran,
Ooh.
FCX. I think it's an ideal time to take a shot on that.
Because of copper or because of gold?
Because look where it is, right on the goal line. Where am I going to buy it? Where am I going to buy it? At 54? Or am I going to buy it on a reversion to the mean?
Okay.
You know, that's when you're supposed to take your shot on the reversion to the mean, not at 58, not at 54, not when it's 4 miles away from the averages. No, when it's on the average, then you could take a bite and you can throw it back in if you don't like it because the exit is very close to the entry, right?
Right. But I'm sorry, Sonny, go ahead.
No, I just,
What are you seeing on the bands, Sonny?
well, we bounced off the lower outer band
There you
recently, the
go.
last couple of days.
There you
I
go.
think it's going to head back up to the DMA itself, which is at 47.87.
Hey. And if it gets above 48, boy, that would really get the bulls
Because
moving.
then it'll pass through the DMA and go on up to the outer bands.
There you go. Outer bands around 52 or 50 or where?
Upper inner band is at 48.79. Upper outer band is currently at 49.55.
I got you.
Breaking that one, then you should be home free a little bit.
Yeah.
But Jim, my question is like if we just move back, the gaps to the upside, was that just on the massive rally that we had in the metals and gold?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Gold went on a big rally. That went on a big rally. And then of course you got to fill those gaps.
That's true. But I always, my problem with, I mean, not with the miners and then, Freeport McMoran, they do mining, but they also Aren't they larger in copper than they are
Well,
in?
that's their main. They have all the metals cooking, but their main deal is copper. And since
Okay.
I hear China is stimulating, and I know that Trump is going to do stuff, and these guys are going to do stuff, and all these data centers, sounds like a lot of copper is going to be needed.
Right. So yes, I'm going to agree with you on that. And that's why I would look more to the amount that copper could gain to push this rally versus gold.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other one I thought would make a move. So I think we beat the old Freeport horse, and we say there could be value here against the yellow line. And then
Right.
the NEM got whacked because they made money, but their expenses were too high. So basically,
That's it. Yes.
that's down here
That's
also on the yellow line. So I
That's
mean,
a
you know,
precipitous drop on that one.
of
That's a big,
course.
yeah,
Of course,
that's
which
a big
means every
drop.
Tom, Dick, and Harry who wanted to get out got out. It also means there was an order imbalance because Michael used to work at the floor. So, you know, when you see a bar like red like that, you know, somebody sold out a huge amount and the only guy buying was Citadel and Goldman Sachs, the market makers. And they said,
Us dealers,
yeah,
yeah.
you want out? I give you $45. How much you want to get out? You want to get it all out? Good. You're filled. Bye-bye.
Mhm.
Now who's going to sell it down here?
Hopefully
If you
nobody,
can't
because
find
look at
people
the
that keep,
RSI.
yeah, exactly.
Excuse me for the
So,
coughing.
like I say, this is another one that I thought might have value down here because obviously 45 sounds better than 60.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's on the yellow line, which is a critical
But
area because if it can't hold the yellow line, it'll go into the abyss.
Yes.
you know, okay, Newmont big for gold, but what else do they mine?
They got some silver, I think, but they also bought that company in Australia, so I think they're the #1 gold producer in the world.
That's what I was going to say. I still think they're the number one gold producer. So the reason that they sold it based on the numbers, I think is because their cost to produce.
No doubt, no doubt, their costs were too high. But I'm sure if that's the case, the people who work at Newmont are probably working on that as we speak, right?
I don't, yeah, but the thing is, it's like gold. I'm still very bullish on gold. I think it needs to pull back, so I'm looking for it to come back maybe to 2,600. And we put that together with the current rally, and it is not really all that much.
No.
Um, and then rally again. So I'm still looking for, I don't know, by the end of the year. I don't think so, but I think at some point in 2025, we will be looking at $3,000 an ounce gold.
Yeah.
And beyond, just because the demand is greater than just producers.
My upper line on this one, the target is 28.34. That's what I'm expecting.
On
even
gold. Oh yeah,
the end
I
of the
got
year.
same. I have resistance up there, so yeah, I'm in total agreement with that.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually thought it would go to it on the round that it just did before it
I
did
did
that
too.
down 50 day. I thought it was going to get up there,
Yeah.
and it unfortunately it didn't, but that's
Had to
okay.
catch its breath.
But yes, exactly, catch its breath.
And as soon as it hits my DMA, which is currently flat, which we know means congestion, it'll fly out of there up to the 28.34 level.
Yeah, and I think actually it could go beyond. We might get a little pullback, but I think it goes beyond now because I think we're going to be going up, and I think that the next level that finishes in terms of an Elliott count starts at 28.34, but we go up to the mid 2,900s.
Nice.
And then we do maybe even 3,000, but then we pull back again. But we're just finishing like minute and then minor third waves. So
Yeah.
we've got to come down on a 4 and then we go back up on a 5. So we got 4 5s still going probably through 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So longer term, put the gold in the bank and just let it sit there.
Yeah.
Let's turn over to energy, and there's 4 companies I want to take a look at there because one is Exxon, and they bought Pioneer, and so they just have a whole bunch of ways of making money, and the trend there seems like it held to 115. So I was thinking it's either going to break 115 and go into the abyss, or it's going to hold these areas, start taking out 120, and maybe take a run at that gap at 125.
Hmm.
This is just a sideways chart as far as I'm concerned. It's just doing
Is
an,
that a Fibonacci pullback? 107 up to 127, back to 115. Is that about a Fibonacci?
let me look.
127 to 107 is 20 and up 10 would be 50%. Yeah.
So, it seems like this neighborhood of 115, I mean, the gold line's not a joke. It's a support zone, you know what I mean? And if they do penetrate it and then get right back above it, that's very bullish, as we saw in the month of September.
Yeah.
Because they got everybody bearish at 110. Next thing you know, it's trading 127.
Because of the way this thing is going so sideways, I think that's bounced off the lower outer band is going to penetrate the DMA and go up to 123 at the upper outer band because it keeps going back and forth between these bands.
And you got a gap there.
Yes, you do.
So let's look at Devon, DVN, Devon Energy. Very cheap.
Wow. That's a name out of the past for me.
Yeah. That's called, you want to buy something at a discount from 56 down to 39 and look at the RSI. I see a divergence here. So I think it's time to take a bite. Take a bite is what I'm thinking. Take a bite.
And let it, if it's going to pull back, let it pull back. Take a small bite now, take a little bit more bite, come them down and see what, as long as that RSI sits the way it's sitting, I'm going to be in agreement with you, Jim.
Yeah. And let's look at some servicers, SLB.
Oh, another voice from the past.
Yeah. Hey, they're all very low. If you like stuff on sale, they're on sale now.
What's the term on this chart? The daily. Okay.
And then you got another divergence there.
You do. Wow. Okay. Wow.
So, like I say, it doesn't have a great trend, so that's not good. But it does have a divergence, which is good, and it has a potential of reversion to the mean, and that's good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's still 3 up.
That's what it looks like.
3 down, 3 up. And yeah, it could be wedging.
And the other guy is Halliburton, HAL.
Boy, I haven't traded that one in a million years.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's in a Halliburton. No, that's Hindustan Industries. We want Halliburton, HAL.
Yeah.
That's Halliburton. No.
Is it?
Halliburton, HAL, Halliburton.
There you go.
There you go. Now there you go.
We definitely would be selling it at $4,000.
Yeah, exactly. But same story about the divergence, right? So I mean, that's why
divergence with follow through divergence.
Yeah, the options are very cheap down here.
Are they really?
How much? Oh yeah, you can buy close to the money for a couple of bucks. Go out 6 weeks, 7 weeks. So
why is the vol so low?
Well, because look at the darn price. I mean, come on. The things.
Well, exactly, but it's going. Everybody they don't like downside, right?
Well, like I say, they're just and oil itself is on the do not call list. Because obviously it's not a good performer lately. So these things when they're not performing, obviously, and. But it's the same story, all of them. Basically, you've got a divergence down here, which might indicate a low. You've got a possible reversion to the mean because the averages are so far away. And you got some news that's kind of constructive lately in that the inventories dropped last week and OPEC has said they're not going to deliver more oil December 1st. And then you've got Ayatollah, whoever over there, talking about getting aggressive. And I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound like...
On a quick, Elliot, you got a shot that we might get below that low, that recent low. Mm-hmm. I don't know what support underneath that would be, but I'm looking at coming off of that April high.
Yeah.
We're finishing up what looks like to me 5 down. So you should get a decent rally off of that, but it's going to be in 3. But if you're looking from 41 down, if you're looking 41 down to 25, let's say, or even 20,
you'd grab the money and run.
Kind of, yeah. But I would think either you could go in now, but you're going to do a little dollar cost averaging if you want to hold the position. So don't put your full boat in here.
No.
go put a little bit in. And
Yeah.
actually, Jim, you tell people how to trade it with options. There you go.
Well, like I say, that's why, when the options are dirt cheap and you're getting a divergence and there's things in the energy market that could be shifting. Well, I always think, when I do anything with options, I always know there's two guys in the trade, right? So
Yeah.
somebody is shorting calls down here for like $1, and
Right.
they're selling it after it's dropped from 42 to 28, and they're going out 2 months hoping it stays down, and their massive gain is going to be $1 if they're right. And so I say to myself, who's got the better deal here? The guy who's going to make a buck and he has to sweat bullets for 2 months, or the guy who might, be putting up a buck. And if the thing jumps to 29 or 31 or something, obviously he's going to get a good hit on his money. So,
Yeah.
Just like,
Pfizer.
if we're at 5,900 on the S&P and there's a divergence and you're buying the 6,000 calls for, a huge premium, you'd have to wonder, who's got the better deal, the writer or the buyer. So,
Right.
you always try to think like that a little bit. And sometimes the answer is pretty obvious.
Right.
Because
Right.
if you put yourself in the other guy's seat, you can say, hey, do I like that seat or not? You know what I mean? And shorting options for $1 with 2 months to go is not exactly the way you get into Beverly Hills, I don't think.
Right. We were asked to look at Pfizer. So, but you're
Well,
the
the Pfizer
moderator.
doesn't look very good. I'll tell you that right now, because I've been watching it like a hawk, and it's like Mike Tyson's legs. They're gone. You know what I mean? So
Along
every
with
every time it
Eli
every,
Lilly did not
yeah,
fare very well either. So I think they're going down as a group.
yeah.
So
Yeah, but Pfizer, the idea was they were doing something to reverse all that loss from COVID. And supposedly they had like a bunch of drugs at the FDA for approval. So there was some real optimism when it broke above 30 that it might actually be bottomed. And here we are making new lows, aren't we?
They need to take a look at a weight loss pill.
Yeah, but
Bring
I
that up.
mean, I guess they can't keep bringing beer to a party that's already happened. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean the chart itself, it's sideways, definitely sideways since late August.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I mean there was
the result could be that it goes down a little bit further. It
Yeah.
should find support at 27, and if that breaks, the next support level is 25.
Yeah, and like I say, in October you had the RSI above 50, you had the market above the blue and the yellow, and it looked like, and a nice big blue bar there, and it looked like it might be actually on its way someplace. And boy, talk about biting the hook and getting
Yeah,
and getting caught by the fishermen. You know.
yeah. I would hold. I personally would hold still with pharmaceuticals,
Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
time.
no, I mean, if you did hold it, you have to realize you're not holding something that's appreciating currently.
and therefore
And
take a
therefore
look at the puts.
you're hoping that there's value, and you're hoping. I don't think you can do much with this thing, because a $2 range is not going to get anybody rich either on
No,
the option side.
no,
And the options are very cheap, but apparently they're cheap for a reason, because this thing is not exactly turning the corner yet.
no, no. It has not. In
Yeah.
fact, it's continuing to go down. Okay.
Yeah. Anything else out there in question land?
I didn't see any.
All right. Well, we hit the energy, we hit the metals, and we hit the tech sector. I think those three are very interesting. And then we we could hit some of the consumer discretionaries. How about Starbucks and Chipotle? Anybody going out for coffee or food lately?
Oh, I buy, I invest in the stocks whose products I use.
Yeah.
Since I go to Starbucks every day, I have my holdings in Starbucks. And I use Amazon nearly every day. So,
Well, they're giving this guy the benefit of the doubt, Sonny, because their earnings report did not exactly set the world on
no,
fire.
and now they're making some changes internally.
Yeah.
They're going to try to get it back to coffee,
Yeah.
little coffee houses instead of just run up, get your drink and leave.
Yeah.
And they're lowering their prices, and they're discontinuing some specialty drinks because that the market's too thin there, and they're making all these changes for a little market. So I think they're taking the right action.
And they're
Yeah.
starting to bring the Sharpie back where they put your name on the cup.
Right.
Oh, God.
And they are also, I think they're going to put the milk and creamers out on the table so
That's
people
right.
can make their own.
That's right.
And so these are good changes, but I don't know that it is going to massively change the needle. But all I'm saying is that they're giving this new guy a lot of rope because I thought that gap would close by now, and there's an absolute refusal of it to close. But I
Mhm.
would say if you look at that RSI, it wouldn't surprise me this thing goes to 90 or 85 sometime either before the end of the year if things were
Yeah.
to turn.
Yeah,
Because
that wouldn't surprise me either direction.
yeah, right. But right now, both directions stink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In other words, you can't make any money on the call on the upside or the put on the downside. So basically,
So what's that
the
called?
rider's making his
Straddle?
money now. Huh?
I said, what's that called? A straddle?
Well, yeah, I'm saying, or a strangle where you do two different
Strangle.
strike prices. So say you bracketed it at $100 and 90, and we're taking the premiums in or 92.50.
Yes.
You've been taking them in pretty good, but the fact that you've been taking them in since August doesn't mean you're getting further away from a breakout. It just to me means you're getting closer to the breakout.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because if you do, one thing about options, if you do the same strategy constantly, the market corrects itself and they do get you. So
Yeah.
if you've been making money writing the options for a long time with the same stock and the same strategy, it's a prelude to getting nailed.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the buy side. If you buy options and they get very expensive, obviously, if you keep buying them because the premiums are bigger, they're going to get you. So you kind of have to kind of hit and run when you're doing sometimes the options.
Yeah.
What about what do you call it? Chipotle, because that
What's
I
the
don't know
C-
that they got a lot of
CMG.
stores. Yeah, CMG. They
C?
got a lot of stores, and people still like their stuff.
And they're
But
going back to the big portions, Jim.
oh yeah,
Oh no.
I don't eat there, so I wouldn't know. I'm not a
That's
rice
what
guy.
I read that.
Yeah.
They're going back to bigger portions, and I'm like, and that makes the stock go up. Okay.
I tell you, I did notice when I went in there like a year or two ago, 3 maybe. I did notice they were really good at that digital. I mean, they had this little, stand, and all these brown bags were on it. And I go, "What's all that about?" He goes, "Oh, that's all digital. People who ordered online or whatever." So
And they
Wow.
fill their own orders?
yeah, and Walmart's another one. I mean, they got guys walking all around those stores with those carts, filling people's orders. So
Yeah.
definitely, the digital marketing has definitely worked. Hey, here's a good idea. Let's look at Walmart and Amazon because if you're dealing in consumer discretionary, these are the two horses in the race. That and Costco.
Mhm.
Right.
And I have all of those.
Yeah. So what are you thinking? You
I
think?
think Walmart still got some room on the upside.
Yeah, it looks like they corrected the RSI down to a reasonable level, and now it looks like if it starts taking out 83, yeah, maybe it's
Mhm.
85 or 90.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
How about Amazon? That one was breaking out on Friday, and the question was it a false breakout or not? Let's see. A little bit of a pullback to fill the gap, but it's still hanging in there, right?
Yep. Yep. And Christmas is coming.
And
Yeah.
Christmas is coming.
No, and these guys make money like 19 different ways. They've got retail sales at the Whole Foods. They got a retail sales coming online. They've got AWS making a ton of money. They've got
Got the Washington Post.
they got subscriptions.
Yeah.
And they've got the Washington Post.
Yeah. No, but you
No,
know what?
that one's going to drag them down, but as
I
far as
know.
everything else, they're doing okay.
Yeah.
I was looking at how many people these people employ, and Amazon's the only one who has a really big employee roster of about 1.5 million people. These other ones
Wow.
like Meta and Apple and Nvidia only hires 29,000 people.
That's
So the
because
bottom line,
those
yeah.
people don't need a ton of people to deliver packages.
Right.
When you're doing software and computer hardware, you don't need a whole lot of employees.
Yeah.
Right.
It just seems to me with the kind of revenues they have, a little sharing wouldn't kill anybody with those guys since they obviously don't have any employees to pay.
Well,
Yeah.
But I guess the stockholders are getting paid, but all they did was put up a
Dividends.
dollar bill. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But yeah,
If I may, I want to just answer two people, if I can.
sure.
The first one to Steve. He's asking if Pfizer would be viable after tax harvesting. That's always a good thought, but play it wisely. Any thoughts on the banks came from Terry.
Oh yeah.
Stick
Put up Citigroup.
with the major major banks, the
Yeah.
big boys, no matter what happens
Can
in
you
the
throw
market.
Citigroup up there? Because to me, it looks like it's getting ready to soar.
There's Citigroup, there's JP Morgan, there's Goldman Sachs, there's Bank of America, Wells Fargo.
Just it says C. You just got to put up C. C will get it for you. Yeah, no, all of them, all the money center. But this one here, technically, I thought is like right at a point where if it gets above 66, I mean, it could go someplace.
I think
If it's going to,
but I think
if
what
they're
we're
going to go, you know.
what we're kind of going into is like everywhere. Like people are deciding, okay, where do I want to take some tax hits, or where do I want to, whatever, they're going to do to change a position. So I think we're going to see that. But I think that, if people are trying to like, what do I think is going to happen if the market just decides to do a major dump, or something in the world causes a major dump? All those stocks are going to go down. But those guys, those bigger guys, they have massive trading desks.
Yeah.
If you don't think that they're going to go in there and short this market, think again.
Yeah.
So they're going to be the ones that are going to sit there and hold all the money.
Yeah.
On the Pfizer idea, since it is so dodgy short term, if you really wanted a position, this would be a classic one to go out a year or two on a limited risk call.
There you go.
And keep your call, somewhere around $30 or something, because it's only going to be any good if it gets above 30 and gets cooking. If it's on its way to 22, at least all you're out is the premium. And then the option's limited risk with staying power, so they're never going to ask you for any more money. And if you go out a year or two, you got a heck of a lot of time on the clock. So that's the way I would look at Pfizer. Not unlike I looked at Freeport McMoran when it was at $10 one year.
Right.
And I said to myself, there's no way that Freeport's going to zero. And so bottom line is I went a long-term option on Freeport. And then, of course, ultimately it went up to the 40s. So, if this thing has a future.
Jim? I think we actually did a show and you talked about that.
Yeah. Because that's what I like to do when something like this is obviously, at a low price, but it may take time to turn. And I don't know if it's going to go down to 20. I don't want to lose $7. So if the option only costs $2 to go out 2 years, why not put a $2 and then, leave me alone and call me when it goes up, or if it doesn't, you can keep my $2 2 years from now.
Yeah.
Because again, now you're going back to who's on the other side of your trade. And
There
the
you
seller
go.
is only getting $2 and he's liable for 2 years. That doesn't sound like Phi Beta Kappa to me. So that's, that's the way I think about the option. Somebody's going to be wrong.
I'm looking right now at JP Morgan.
Yeah.
And it really looks like it could go down to 212.
Yeah, the banks, are having some hard time up here. I think at Bank of America, those options on Bank of America are very cheap.
But we're talking $8. I agree with you, Sonny, but it's like, when you're talking in the scheme of things.
Yeah, it's not that much.
It's not, but I agree. Yeah, they're all needing to pull back.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see. And the market could puke its guts out and JP Morgan could go down to 160.
Yeah.
So, but where would I want money? It's like, well, they're going to be making a ton of money.
Yeah.
They always do.
Exactly. They all have trading desks.
Yeah.
Look at JP Morgan. The whole talk in the options world is always, where's JP Morgan going to put their collar? They're hedging their hedge fund. And it's so big that they're putting 40,000 contracts on a collar. That's big.
That's
That's big money.
But all right, let's tell these guys how they can get a hold of us and explain how you can help them. Sonny, start out with you. How to get a hold of you, and again, how are you going to help the people?
I'm at moneymentor.com, moneymentor.com. And if you look right at the top of the page, it gives my cell phone number. That's not a sales number. You get to talk to me. So give me a call. I love to talk to people. And everything else I do is listed on moneymentor.com. I've been a professional trader for 43 years. I love to mentor people and teach them how to trade. And I'm an easy language programmer. Oh, and I'm the author of 8 best-selling books, trading books.
Lots to learn. Lots to learn there. No doubt about it.
One more thing. I have a live trading room every day from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific time.
Exactly.
The time is 11 o'clock.
Michael, briefly, again, how to get a hold of you?
Michael at MJF1 Partners, and it's MJF1 partners.com. And you can take a look at what I do by going to either logicalsignals.com or tradersuppingtraders.com. I produce a daily update on the ES and the NQ, a weekly where I do both the cash and the futures market. I'm revamping everything, and I'm going to be starting membership channels on YouTube, and also shifting away from my trade room. It's currently still in progress, and I still do it, but I'm moving that more to where, like Sonny just mentioned, I would rather teach people how to trade the futures in this crazy market and what tools they need and how to use those tools, rather than have them come into my trade room thinking that they're going to learn all that by watching me trade. So I'm switching that around a little bit. It's more, so I do provide coaching and I do provide analysis services.
Perfect. As far as Option Professor is concerned, we got two things going for you. One is an options master class. That's 6 hours, 3 sessions. And we also have an options alert service where every Sunday night we put option ideas into your inbox. Just simply email me, optionprofessor@gmail.com. optionprofessor@gmail.com, and I'll get the information back out to you. Thanks a lot, Sonny. Thanks a lot, Michael. Great
You're
talk.
welcome.
And yeah, great to be with you guys always. And I'm going to send it back to David. Thanks, Sonny.
All right. Yeah, great discussion. So just a quick reminder for everyone, please be sure to subscribe to Timing Research on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. Or you can just also go to TimingResearch.com to get access to this show as soon as I can get it posted, as well as all of the past shows and presentations. So I just want to thank my guests again for today. Sonny Harris of MoneyMentor.com, Michael Filighera of LogicalSignals.com, and the Option Professor of OptionProfessor.com. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.